When Buffy the Vampire Slayer hit the air in 1997, Sarah Michelle Gellar had no idea how quickly the Buffy buzz would grow. At the time, the 19-year-old actress was shooting her first starring movie role in I Know What You Did Last Summer. The film featured other stars in the making, Jennifer Love Hewitt, Ryan Phillippe, and a tall, dark, and handsome actor named Freddie Prinze Jr. But more on him later. The day Sarah wrapped I Know What You Did Last Summer, she flew to Atlanta to start filming Scream 2.
It was the first time I was kind of in a big city, and all of a sudden, people on the street were, that's Buffy. And that was my first time when I really realized that people were actually watching the show. I had no clue. I'd never seen it.
Buffy's fan base was building.
The WB said, okay, we're going to let this show sort of run its course, because we were really still finding ourselves the first year. Were we funny? Were we campy? Were we scary? And then the WB really said, okay, go run with it. Have fun, make this show. And I think it was really by the end of the second season when we really became sort of that standout show.
But with success came controversy.
Being outspoken, as you are, has it ever gotten you in trouble?
Yeah, absolutely. It's hard. There's a really fine line. There was a whole thing going on for a while where people were really blaming television and film for crime and things that were going wrong, specifically with Columbine and all these things that were happening. And I found myself getting in a lot of trouble at that point because they pulled an episode of Buffy that I thought was really wonderful. And I thought it was the stupidest decision I'd ever seen.
It just happened that the show was going to air about 3 or 4 weeks after the Columbine incident. And so they came to us and said, we can't do this.
The episode was all about she gains this power to be able to hear people's thoughts. She can't control how many voices she hears at a time, so it just became chaos in her head.
And what she realizes is that the pain that she feels, the awkwardness of adolescence, that everybody feels. So she starts to pick up conversations and snippets, and then she hears that someone's going to kill everybody.
This time tomorrow, I'll kill you all.
The one voice that really started to stand out was the distant loner feeling like no one would notice if he wasn't there. And he was up in a bell tower with a gun.
And so, of course, she assumes that he's going to shoot everyone. And they have this whole conversation about how he's so misunderstood and people treat him badly. And she says, you don't understand. Everybody feels that way. My life happens to, on occasion, suck beyond the telling of it. Sometimes more than I can handle. And it's not just mine. Every single person down there is ignoring your pain because they're too busy with their own. And she finally says, give me the gun. And he hands her the gun, and she says to him, why were you going to shoot everyone? That's not the answer. And he said, I was going to shoot myself. I was going to put myself out of this misery.
So it wasn't a show about violent rage and aggression and disaffected youth taking out their anger on, unsuspecting students. It was about the isolation of high school.
So it was just this great lesson about what was wrong. Oh, no, kid had a gun in school. Can't show it on television. Things
were so sensitive at the time that we were more than willing to take it off the air for a while. It has aired since then. But I see her point too, because it was, really, people become so afraid of, offending or sending the wrong message that you start to trample on certain rights of freedom of speech.
And it made me so mad. But, of course, no producers and network of a show like to hear you talk about the fact that you think their decision's really stupid and lame.
It's a bold thing for her to do that, because she puts herself on the line and says, this is what I believe in.
Sarah also puts herself on the line for her friends.
Sarah is so outgoing and so just gung-ho and she's nurturing, and she takes you under her wing. And it's so strange because people think I'm the strong one, and it's the opposite. When you're with Sarah, you sort of feel safe.
She gets a bad rap sometimes because she's assertive, and I think that's unfair, because she stands up for herself, she stands up for the crew, and she stands up for the integrity of the show, the character, things that we all discussed that we would have liked to have seen done that somebody said we can't do that. She stood up for that, and she got labeled difficult, which is a sad label to get for someone like her.
There's a certain point where I feel like actors need to be quiet and people don't want to hear my thoughts on politics, and people just want me to stop talking. But you do have a voice and people will listen to you, and if you're in a position where kids might look up to you, and if I could stop one kid from someone gives them a cigarette and they go, that's not cool, then I'm happy. My job is done.
Up until now, Sarah hasn't said much about her personal life, despite the fact that her romance with Freddie Prinze Jr. is no secret.
Pretty much the luckiest guy on the planet, so I got a lot of love for that girl, and I always will.
My relationships had always been really private before Freddie, and we had a really good, like 4 months, 5 months before it got out there, so we really had 4 or 5 months to sort of develop our relationship, and luckily we had been friends for a long time, so there was a lot of history there.
Coming up next on Revealed.
You know, you're 22 years old just trying to figure out your life.